I'm Gary Jublin. As a subscriber, you're listening to the latest episode of I Catch Killers before anyone else. Thanks for taking out the subscription. Enjoy this episode of the podcast first. I thought long and hard about getting today's guest on I Catch Killers, as I'm sure he did before agreeing to come on. I've seen a lot of violence in my time in the cops, as has my guest during his life. The difference is he also inflicted a lot of violence. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption and forgiveness. I believe today's guest has earned that right and has managed to completely turn his life around. I believe a listener warning is necessary for today's podcast. It's raw and real. Some people may be shocked by what is discussed. That's just how it is when we're talking to an ex-outlaw motorcycle gang member. Welcome to another episode of I Catch Killers. Today we're coming from an undisclosed location. There is a reason for that, because today the listener will be given an insight into a world that few people see or understand. It's a world lived outside of society's laws. It's a world of outlaw motorcycle gangs, prison and violence. On this episode of I Catch Killers, I'm going to introduce you to a person I've known for 20 years. Our paths crossed numerous times when I was a cop and he was an outlaw. He lived the life of a gangster. He was a member of an outlaw motorcycle gang. He was a violent man with a fearsome reputation. He was a tough guy who did not know how to take a backward step. He spent years on the run for murder, lived under an alias. During this time, he didn't have a job or pay taxes. He was an outlaw. He earned his living through crime. When the law eventually caught up with him, he did time inside. In fact, his first stint in jail was at 17 in a men's prison. He in fact asked the judge to be sent to the adults' prison. You got to love his confidence. Whilst in prison, he saw a lot of violence and survived a savage attack from a gang of inmates hell-bent on killing him. During this attack, he was stabbed multiple times in the yard. I've met and seen a lot of so-called hard men in my life. Today's guest is an imposing character. He's physically tough and knows how to hold his hands up. But he is also mentally one of the toughest people I've met. It's not my thing to glorify gangsters. As a cop, my thoughts have always been, you do the crime, you do the time. Violence is committed on others should be punished. But I do respect strength of character and stories of redemption. When I see someone turn their life around against all odds, I'm always impressed. That's what our guest today has done. He's completely turned his life around. I'm proud to call this guy a mate. I trust him with my life. He's rock solid and has my back. I can't pay a person a higher compliment. My guest today is Cunno. Cunno is now living the life as a civilian, working hard and paying taxes, contributing to society as best he can. His days as an outlaw are behind him. He reminds me of those retired gunslingers you see in the old Western movies, who have finally found some peace in life. Cunno, welcome to I Catch Killers.
How you going, Gary?
Very good, mate. Very good. You keeping your head down?
I am.
That's good.
Hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, well, you've been doing it for a long time now. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed.
Cheers.
Before we get on to our little chat, I just got some housekeeping things to attend to. Now, mate, you of all people realise I can't afford to get in more trouble with the law. So, do you give me permission to record this conversation?
I do. First time ever.
Thanks for that. Last time we caught up, you pointed out over the past 20 years my criminal record is worse than yours, which is not too good.
No. No.
Life does.
At the end of the day, I have to say my dealings with you have always been straight up 100%, and that's one of the things that made me continue to do what I did. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, mate, and you've always been, in my dealings with you, a man of your word, so it goes both ways. But life does get weird sometimes. I'm out of the cops, you're out of the gangs, and here we are doing a podcast.
So funny.
Where do I start with someone like who's lived a life like you? What were you like as a kid?
As a kid?
Yeah. Can you remember?
Well, most of the family will tell you I was a cunt of a kid. Pardon the French, but...
I think your mum actually said that to me when I met her once.
Yeah, probably. But she takes a lot of the blame. She dropped me on my head as a baby. So, but yeah, as a kid, look, we grew up in a good family. There was money. That I don't know how to explain it. I guess in everybody else's eyes, the childhood was a perfect one. The old man was sort of attached to the law enforcement side of things.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how we grew up until he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old were you when your old man died?
14.
Yeah. And he was a good influence on you, or kept you on track, from what I understand.
He did his best, mate, but yeah.
They're a little bit rebellious, aren't you?
He said to my mother once, "We're not going to keep this one out of jail," and well, it came true, didn't it? But,
and he could see that even in the early days.
Yeah.
What was it? You didn't like authority, or you just life on the wild side?
I like to learn. I like knowledge. And we grew up in a family where you spoke when spoken to, you were seen and not heard, and that type of thing. And I just wanted to learn.
And that curiosity took you to places that got you into trouble?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. From the point he died, I cut loose, and Mum couldn't really handle me. Yeah. And I was off. I was out of the home at 14 and a half, I think, thereabouts.
So tell me, at 14 and a half, how do you survive on the streets?
There's no other way to say it. Crime, basically. I hung around up the cross, and there was always crooks and money up there and ways to earn it.
Yeah, and what type of crimes are we talking about? What how'd you make your dollar?
Selling drugs.
Yeah.
Motor vehicle theft. All sorts of different things, mate.
And at that age, you wouldn't have.
Holder.
Yeah, well, that's getting into the serious side of things. At that age, you wouldn't even comprehend the consequences of your actions.
No.
So.
Not like sitting where I am today and knowing what I know.
Yeah.
I had no idea back then, mate. You're a bloody kid.
And were there people in the criminal side of the world that you were looking up to?
I loved motorbikes, and I think it was about 14 and a half, 15, and I ended up hanging around a club and joining that club. And that entailed going to jail and getting locked up in boys' homes and all sorts of stuff. When
we talk about a club, you're talking about an outlaw motorcycle club?
Yeah.
And at that age, you were drawn into it?
Yeah, well, it was the bikes for me.
Yeah.
Building them, riding them. That's all I wanted to do, was build and ride motorbikes. And to be able to do that, you had to have the money. And sort of growing up the way I did, to get the money, you learnt crime. And more so from around the influences in your life, the adults. When I joined the club, I was a kid, mate, and they were adults, and they were into crime and doing different shit.
And I would imagine, as a kid, looking up to some hard-ass bikie dudes, it would have been, you would have been impressed by them in your mind at the time?
Some, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some, no.
What were the qualities in the people that impressed you?
I think the leadership, that leadership structure, doing right by your mates, looking after your mates if they get in trouble and stuff like that. That was what appealed to me, and it took a lot of years to learn that isn't how things operate in the outlaw clubs.
And with the clubs, as a kid coming in, you had to pay your dues. You're not going to just be accepted. So how'd you sort of ease your way into the club?
Crime, basically. Doing crime and being able to keep your mouth shut, I guess, is probably the biggest draw for them in a prospective member, if you like. They've got to be able to keep their mouth shut no matter what they see, do or hear. You have to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
If you prove you can do that, then you're invited into all sorts of crimes.
So they just ease you into it to start with, test you out?
Yeah.
Because I think the public, we see bikies riding around, and it looks like it's a world that most of us don't see inside or get to understand. I can see the attraction, like you are living life as an outlaw in the bikie gangs. Is that part of it, like the rebellious side of things? You're
doing whatever you want to do, and you're making the money. There's avenues to make the money to be able to do that.
And it felt right living outside the normal rules of society.
Mate, I didn't even understand why you had to pay tax until around 96. So that'll give you an idea of my mentality. I'm a certain type of person, and there's certain things that I don't agree with in that world, and different acts that people do to other people and whatever else. But
yeah, it's hard. Like, I know what you're saying. There's different types of crime and the way that the crimes are approached. So you saw the difference in it. You still had a moral compass enough to know, even though you were living as an outlaw, you knew some things are going too far.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think the public would be really fascinated about how you actually join a gang now in limited, just to get it started, looking at the roles in there. And I think the public, through what they see in the media or reading that, understand about what a nom is. And a nom is a nominee that someone's vouched for to come into a club. So do you want to just talk us through that process?
I'm just trying to remember how I actually got invited around the first club. I think, from memory, I was pinching motorbikes and jet bikes, whatever. And that brought me into contact with the first club I rode with. And, yeah, sort of from my interaction with that particular member and the business dealings we had, I ended up visiting the clubhouse, and I saw blokes building motorbikes in the bloody shed outside, stuff like that. Drinking, girls, drugs. I was into drugs at that time, and that was all available there. It was just part of life. Different things happened, and I was asked to do different things, and I did them. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I was 15 years old, walking around with a sawn-off shotgun outside meetings of an outlaw club. I was walking around pubs up the Central Coast and New South Wales. I was walking around pubs with sawn-off shotguns while we had meetings with other clubs. Yeah. And I was expected to, if anything happened, if any weapons come out or any bullshit happened, I was expected to pull that shotgun and shoot that other member of that other club.
And the mindset you're in, you probably would have?
Oh, definitely. As far as I was concerned, the way I grew up, Gary, like, we were all outlaws. We were all doing the same shit.
Yeah.
And anything goes.
Yeah.
It's anything goes.
That world you live in, that if you're living as an outlaw motorcycle gang member, that's the world you live in. The consequences are
And for me, like you said before, I asked to go to jail at 17, and that is a fact.
We'll talk about that in detail, but yeah. It's you got to be stupid sometimes. Sometimes you don't. You get what you ask for.
I touched the walls of that jail cell, flat palmed, with my arms outstretched, and I went, "Fuck this! Send me back to where I came from." Basically.
Yeah. I can imagine. So so you're in your teens, 15, 16. You're strutting your stuff around with a sawn-off shotgun out the front of a outlaw motorcycle gang's clubhouse, and prepared
on meeting night.
Sorry.
That was on meeting night.
Yeah, talk us through meeting night. I think the public would be interested in that too.
Meetings, they happen once a week, and anything club business is discussed there. Rides, upcoming rides, events, anything like that. Any meetings or any interactions with other clubs are all discussed at the meetings. Any problems, general life business for the club.
And how many people would be invited to attend that meeting?
The meetings are structured, and they're structured like for the general meeting. Patch members go to the meeting. Nominees sit away from the meeting. If there's anything that they need to speak to the nom about, they'll be called into that meeting in front of the other members and spoken to, and then returned back to the noms area, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your time like as a nom?
It was eventful. Very eventful.
Give us.
You had to prove. You had to prove that you had a backbone. You had to prove that you were willing to do whatever the club required.
Yeah.
At that particular moment in time.
So look,
I did that quite well.
Not beating around the bush, but a lot of the clubs are built on violence, and not just the threat, but the actual inflicting of violence. Is that the type of thing we're talking about?
The more violent, I think a lot. It's hard to explain, but the more violent you are, and the more willing you are, the faster you will get up that chain.
Yeah,
that's demand in the club.
And what I know of you, you're always willing. You have been violent, and you're capable inflicting violence.
Definitely, yeah. But I honestly believe, Gary, like, everything I've done.
Yeah.
In my mind at the time, they were involved in the scene I was in, and what they did was wrong.
Yeah.
Towards me, or towards, basically the rules and the way we live our life as bikers. And I deal with it in however way at the time.
Yeah. So I'm just paraphrasing what you're saying there. It's basically the rules that you live by as an outlaw motorcycle gang member or nom, was rules that you respected in that environment.
I don't know if I could say I respected them,
Yeah.
knowing what I know now, but at the end of the day, they were the rules,
Yeah.
and I was prepared to live by them.
Yeah.
At the time, fuck, I was angry, mate. When the old man died, I was angry, and I was angry for a long time.
And that played itself out.
It did. It played itself out. It played itself out from, the moment I joined bike clubs.
Yeah.
The moment I decided that it wasn't me as a person.
In hindsight, do you think the bike clubs exploited that anger and that vulnerability?
Always do.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. Most clubs have got their inner core.
Yeah.
The criminal inner core, and everything around that inner core, whether it's patched or not, is basically an urn.
Yeah.
Depending on how they travel their path through the club, if you know what I mean, for want of a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
I've seen blokes come in, businessmen come to the club and walk away fucking broke, with nothing.
Yeah.
I've seen people with nothing, willing people with nothing, come and make a fucking lot of money, But, in their sort of, in making that money, in those people making that money, the way they went about it didn't sit well with me as a person.
Mm.
A lot of the ways they did the things they did, it wouldn't sit well with any person,
And that's you looking back now, with experience of life and looking back. But at the time, I would imagine.
Fuck at the time, Gary.
Yeah.
Like I said, my activities, if you like, were confined to the scene, to the people who were involved in the scene, were part of the scene, and wanted to deal in that scene. I never sort of ventured any of the shit that I was into on people outside that scene.
Yeah.
Insofar as but the crimes that I did, I know now the crimes that I did back then throughout that whole process impacted on other people's lives.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm sorry. And I would never do it again. But that was the process of me learning, I guess.
Oh, I think it's taking courage, just talking about that. But I understand that at 17, 18, I had no idea what life was about. And
I had no idea, no father, and I was out of home at fucking 14 and a half.
Yeah, and you're a product of an environment. And if the environment's an outlaw motorcycle gang, I reckon it would fuck you up a bit.
Well, they were my teachers, I replaced the school teachers with them as teachers.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, mate, the ones who have been there and are still there, they don't give a fuck about anybody but their own pocket. I think the people I've seen around the peripheral of what they do too, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but I've seen bent cops, I've seen bent lawyers, I've seen, lawyers take drugs, police, prosecutors take drugs,
Yeah.
I've seen it. And, it is what it is, I guess.
Oh, well, you can't shy away from it. It is a seedy side of life. But so you're a nom. How long were you a nom for before you got patched?
I didn't go through to full membership with the first club.
Yep.
Some things that they did went against my grain, and I left. And I joined another club, and that was, I guess, me. That's where I started. I learned the biker lifestyle with the first club, and then I learned how to make money living the biker lifestyle with the second club.
Was it hard to go from one club to another? Did you cop shit from the first club you're in?
I don't know anybody in the first club that I rode with that would have took me on at the time.
Physically taken you on.
That's the God honest truth, mate. I was only a young fella, but I don't know anybody that would have took me on at the time one-on-one.
Mate, I've seen you in your peak, 6'4", 130 kilos.
136, actually.
Oh, fuck, sorry. Yeah, so... And that counts for a lot in that world.
What, the 136 kilos?
Oh, well, I'm saying...
That's the only reason I lived after I got stabbed.
Like, being physical, like it's a bit hard if no one's going to take you on, so, yeah.
Yeah, like I say, mate, my younger years, I was horribly violent within the club scene. And, not a lot of blokes are like that one-on-one.
Yeah.
They're happy to be like that around 10 with 10 of their friends around them, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I was like that. Well, I was like that in the club, and I was like that when I was away from the club, and that was one of the things with the first club I rode with, and that they heard about me was, I had a lot of friends in different clubs because I was, I had the respect, I think, and a lot of the blokes in the first club I rode with didn't like that because they were patched with another club, if you like, and they didn't get on with them very well at all. But yeah.
Okay, so you gone to the next club, and this is where you're saying you learnt how to make money. And what was it like when you finally got full membership there? How'd it feel?
Well, I've been at it for a few years, mate, trying to get a patch. And when I finally got patched, I guess, it was a good buzz on the night.
And how was it celebrated?
We got fucked up.
Drugs, alcohol, women?
Oh, yeah, all of it.
Yeah.
It was you get your colours at the meeting, and basically it's your shout on the bar for that night. So however long and however many stay, that's what you pay at the end of it.
And is it those nights in the clubhouse, are they as wild as the public would imagine?
Oh yes, definitely some have been.
Well, if you got a pack of like-minded lunatics together and mixing alcohol, drugs, and a bit of celebration, things are going to get fairly wild.
Well, it depends on your definition of wild too.
Yeah, well, I dare say your definition's a little bit higher than the average person, but yeah, been there, done that, seen things. So, the structure of the club. You have chapters, you have presidents, you have sergeant at arms. Talk us through that.
What do you want to know about it?
Well, I think from a public's point of view, it is a lifestyle that fascinates them. It's an outlaw lifestyle, whether they agree with it or don't. It's something that interests them, what actually goes in. So
I've noticed that, mate, over the years. I've seen that many times at different parties that we've had, and the different, I guess, spectrum of people you have there.
Yeah.
All the way from, like I say, businessmen. I've seen the odd off-duty cop. Yeah.
Well, I think people are, in a strange way, drawn to that. So just giving the people that haven't had the exposure, like, what's it mean to be a president of a club or a president of the chapter?
Well, I think basically you're responsible for how you want that chapter to operate.
Yeah.
And basically you're responsible for, well, I think, from what I learned and the way I grew up, you're responsible for how everybody sees your chapter or your club.
Mm.
And I think everybody, all the members under that, from the president down, are expected to portray whatever view that may be of the president.
Yeah. So the president, it would be fair to say, is almost like a dictator, like what the president says goes.
Yeah. Well, there's a voting system, mate, but, it's all rigged, if you like.
Yeah. Not secret ballot.
No. I nearly walked into something then, but anyway. I'm going to tell you a story, but I nearly came out with the name first.
All right. Drop the names, just the stories.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I'll leave that one out.
Sergeant at arms, what's the role there?
He's basically then club enforcer. American clubs have got different sort of office bearers. There's a road captain in the States. There's an enforcer. It's a particular job. But in Australian clubs, the sergeant at arms is basically all that.
Yep.
The enforcer mediates any arguments, anything like that, deals out any punishments that have got to be dealt out.
So talk us through that hypothetically. Someone within the club has fucked up, done something that's brought dramas to the club. What type of punishments dished out?
Anything from, depending on what it is, a stern talking to being flogged and thrown out with your bike taken to never being seen again.
Right. You ever been in trouble with the club?
A couple of times. In my young years when I was learning.
Young and stupid?
Yeah.
What had you done wrong?
I ended up sleeping with the president's missus at the time.
Mate, I'm not a bikie, but something about that tells me that's a very, very dumb idea.
Well, at the time, I was going out. I grew up, as I say, in the Cross.
Yeah.
Going out with hookers and strippers and blah, blah, blah. The long and the short of it, we had a deal between us. If his missus wanted a root on the side, it was all good. And if mine wanted a root on the side, it was all good. But he changed the rules after it happened and sort of turned around and said to me that he wasn't present for the threesome sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And proceeded to grab 9 other members of the club and Matic handles and baseball bats and take me off to a secure location and flog the fucking shit out of me. Take a break in between and then do it again.
Okay, mate. Now that... Okay. You talk about that very matter-of-factly, but I think people would just be going, what the hell? So you got...
Probably.
You got... How many did you say? 9?
Yeah, 9 of them.
9 blokes, baseball bats, picks, whatever, or handles.
when we left the clubhouse that we had, I was told, put my bike away. We were going to see another club.
Yeah.
Put my bike away. And so I put the bike away. And when I put that bike away, I knew exactly what the fuck was happening. And I had a chat to another prospect nominee, whatever you want to call him, who was taken up there with us.
Yeah.
He did the same thing the week before. And I hadn't heard until we were sitting on the log next to each other that he got the shit flogged out of him and his leg broken and shit for doing it. And I just looked at him and said, well, then I guess it's my turn. Just because of the way it happened, where we were, and the fact that we weren't riding bikes to see them.
Where had they taken you? Without the exact location, but just give us a sense of the location.
Oh, it was a bush section of the New South Wales coast.
Yeah.
Not visible to the road. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so a nice, quiet location.
Oh yeah.
And you're sitting on a log with another nom that's said, "Look, I've fucked up, and this is what happened to me. He's got a broken leg."
Yep.
And at that point in time, you're starting to get a sense that things aren't looking too healthy for you.
Yep.
So what happened?
So we were on this log at the start of the track that led into the bush area, and then I heard my name called, and I walked down there, and there was all the boys standing around in a circle with baseball bats and whatnot. And I think it was the week before I'd had a conversation with the president about what took place, and that's when I found out that because he wasn't there, that I did the wrong thing. And I said to him then, if you feel you need to make an example of me over what happened, so be it. And that's what happened. A week later, I was made another example of. I walked down the track into the middle of the circle. I told what it was about.
So you got someone there saying, "Okay, mate, this is what it's about."
The president was there.
All right, okay. And is it like this is the verdict of the court? The court's ruling? Yeah. Okay, well, talk us through it. Strange world you live in.
Yeah. Well, I used to live in.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was the round table, and I was told what it was about. And then he said to the other member, "You might as well start this one, such and such." And he proceeded to smack me in the back of the head with the fucking thick end of a matting handle.
Okay.
And
that hurts.
Thought, it did hurt. But my instant thought was, hit the ground, cunt, or you're going to get broken bones. And I did. I literally fucking hit the ground, laid flat on my face, on my stomach, with my arms and legs flat as well. And they proceeded to beat the shit out of me. But then one of the boys said, lift his leg up. And I don't know what happened there, but it didn't get lifted up and it didn't get broken. But yeah.
So
the funny thing was, for me, I think, sort of 30 seconds before it ended, or after it ended, that I looked up at the president and I said, "Does this mean I'm out of the club?"
So you're a smart ass even when you're getting bashed by 9 blokes with bats.
Yep.
Did you get it?
Because Gary, we had this deal between us with our women. It's just one of the Bikie things.
Yeah.
That I grew up learning, and we had this deal between us, and I guess dipped into the deal, and he didn't like that.
Okay. How did it feel being bashed by? Because these were your mates.
Yeah.
So how did it feel being bashed by your mates? Like I've had fights with mates, but I haven't been bashed by mates with baseball bats.
There's rules, and that was one of the rules. You don't sleep with another member's woman.
Yeah.
But as far as I was concerned, I had this deal with him.
Right.
And, yeah.
Could you appeal the sentence?
Fuck, you're funny. No.
And you didn't have legal representation.
I said what I had to say the week before, mate. If you feel you need to do this to make yourself feel better, basically, go for it. And I was a prospect. They were the rules. I copped it on the chin.
And like people might think you're talking shit there, but I know you well enough to know that's exactly how you would have thought. You would have just said, "Okay, I'll cop my lumps."
Yep.
So
because there was a rule in place, and technically I broke that rule.
Yeah.
But I had a deal.
Yeah.
Deal was broken. You don't break a deal with somebody.
So with that, injuries, what'd you come out with?
Well, there's the funny part. I was taken to the hospital by one of the other noms and his missus, and they did x-rays and so on and so forth.
What did you say at the hospital had happened to you?
I think I said I fell over. That's usually what I said.
Yeah.
I remember reading something from jail not long ago, and it said I fell over in the ... and then it was big space ... several times.
Yeah.
They x-rayed everything. Nothing was actually broken.
Yeah.
I was bruised, like my brother saw me, mate, and I was black from pretty much the back of my neck to my heels. And he wanted to arm up and go and deal with these cunts, and I said, no. I explained it to him.
Yeah.
But the funny part about it was after the hospital, I went back to the clubhouse on crutches, I think, with a fiberglass splint at the time.
Yeah.
And the question was asked, what's broken? And I said, nothing. And the member that started the blue back in the secluded place said, let's take him back out and do it again. There's nothing broken. I'm not shitting you. That's exactly what was said, mate.
Did you think that was a possibility?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the president turned around and said, no, it's done. That's it.
Did they like your spirit? Like, mate, I would imagine making a smart-ass comment when you're on the deck with blokes, 9 blokes taking to you with baseball bats, and you've still got enough in you to make a smart-ass comment.
Well, it was a genuine question, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
This mean I'm out of the club? Are you throwing me out of the club because of what's taken place as well as backing me?
Yeah.
For breaking our deal, and yeah. And the answer was, that's up to you.
Yeah. So this is one of life's lessons that you've taught people. If you're going to get bashed by 9 blokes with baseball bats, your advice: lay flat.
Lay flat, and hope like fuck they don't lift your limbs up.
So you have been around violence, because I do remember you telling me a story about another time up at King's Cross where you got taken to with some iron bars. You want to?
It wasn't an iron bar. It was another medic handle. It was a shortened medic handle, actually.
Yeah.
It didn't have the big thick end that goes into the head of the medic.
Yeah.
That had been cut off it, but I was struck with that from behind the bar in one of the nightclubs up there, and he tried to break my forearm.
See, this is a world that people don't get to see, and you're sitting there talking matter of fact, and that's just par for the course. Which I suppose in the world that you have lived, it has been par for the course. But just tell us that.
That's what I was taught.
Yeah,
that exactly what I'm talking about, and what I'm saying to you today is exactly what I was taught.
Yeah,
simple as that. Take no shit from nobody.
So what started that one?
I think I was fucked up on someone. I think someone had given me acid. To be honest, in the clubhouse, and I made it into the cross, and I was looking for some of the boys from the second club I was with that were in the cross at the time. And one of the waitresses come up to me and told me I had to buy a drink or leave. And I said something to her, and after pretty much saying that and turning around, I had the barman trying to break my forearm with a medic handle.
Yeah.
And I took that off him, and I think I clipped him with it, and in the process, one of the girls got clipped with it.
Yep.
Not directly by me, but in the process of what took place.
Yeah.
I think he wore it around the ear or something. And everything had settled down. Nobody was coming near me, so I took the stick that I was hit with and walked out the club. I put my jacket over my arm, walked out of the nightclub down to the street, and had the stick in my hand. I walked out the front of the club and put the stick in the bin. And when I looked to my left, there was about 10 police officers coming from the left, and I looked to my right, and there was about 10, 15 bouncers coming from the right. So I walked towards the cops and walked down the street. Walked through the cops, and one of the cops sort of looked at me and said, hey mate, hang on a minute, mate, I want to talk to you. And that was the start of that night. And I ended up in lockup and back at the clubhouse at like 8 o'clock in the morning or something.
So the start of that night, so were you in a brawl with the cops or the bouncers or both? Or
Neither.
Yeah.
Well, the brawl took place upstairs. There
Yeah.
was the barman, and I guess one of the doormen who'd come up the stairs to find out what was going on. I'd taken the bat off. That was obviously, there was a struggle for the bat that had hit me in the arm, and he got clipped with it. She got clipped with it, and I think I reefed it clear and walked down the street. I walked down the stairs and put it in the bin, and ended up in the lockup for the night.
Right, not your first time, not your last time.
Oh shit, no.
What about the stories of clubs patch overs and that? And explain what that means.
Being patched over?
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of when a bigger club, I guess, wants to either absorb or shut down is usually what happens. If there's another club that's in our way, if you like, it just happened a couple of times over the years, they're either shut down, as I say, their colours taken and they are no longer a club, or they're absorbed into the existing club, into our own club. And generally, I guess, what I've seen over the years, when that takes place, halves come across and half said, no, I'm not fucking joining them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they've got their own way and they have no more club. Yeah.
And is it the violence, and I like the public are aware of what, when I say recently, it's a few years back now, but Comancheros and the Hells Angels at the airport. It was a violent confrontation between gangs, and then the Father's Day massacre.
I think I'd just flown home from seeing you when that took place at the Sydney airport.
Yeah, glad you weren't there.
So was I.
Yeah, it wouldn't have gone down well. But is that is that the norm? Is that the conflict between the clubs?
What you were just talking about at the airport, that type of thing.
Yeah.
No, when the club scene I grew up in, Gary, it was people dealt with people in the scene.
Yeah.
It wasn't until sort of, I think the Angels bought, from my memory, the Angels introduced speed on a big scale to Australia.
Yeah.
In Melbourne in sort of 80, 81, 82, around there. And then that sort of filtered out from there. And the bikers in Australia basically learned that if they sold that shit and took that shit, well, they started taking it, but then they worked out that if we sold it, we no longer had to ride Triumphs. We could buy new Harleys.
Yeah.
Buy houses, and so on and so forth. And it took off in a big way. And that's been the drug of choice for bikers, I think.
And for a money earn.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Marijuana makes so much.
Yeah.
Powders have always made the major money.
Yeah.
Not everybody smokes dope. Not everybody snorts coke. Not everybody takes speed or smokes a pipe,
Yeah.
Different people, different strokes.
So with the when you're a member of a gang, when you go on the road runs, what are they about and what are they like? And that's what
they were fun.
Yeah,
they were fun, mate.
Talk us through that, because I think you see the families packed in their holiday cars with the kids in the back, and then a group of 30 bikies will come roaring past the cars and take off as if we don't give a fuck about anyone or anything.
Pretty much.
Did it feel good?
Oh, it was fun. I was just picturing a time we were going up, I think, Arachula, up in Brisbane.
Yeah.
And we had a pack of about 60 bikes, I guess. And I was just picturing us splitting, main pack splitting right, half the pack splitting left, and going around the inside of the car at the same time. Yeah. I remember it's happened a couple of times, mate. I've been past cars, and you look down as you go past. The missus is looking up at you, the kid's smiling, and the old man's fucking get out of my way. It's been funny. Yeah. But it's a buzz.
Yeah, I could imagine.
If you like bikes, 400 engines.
And the sound, yeah.
We left, no, I can't go into it.
Well, look, the history.
We left the spot one day, mate, and the last motorbike left the spot where we were when the first motorbike pulled up at the shop 4.5 k's up the road.
That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
4.5 k's of motorbikes, mate. Yeah. And we turned around and came back to where we were, sort of thing. And it was impressive.
And for someone that's got this rebellious streak in you, I would imagine sitting in a pack like that, you'd be feeling like no one can touch you.
Yeah.
And say you felt a sense of entitlement, you'd just pull into a country town, no one's going to make a problem for you in the pub or...
No, generally not, mate. Like in any organisation, you get idiots, and they fuck it up for everyone, mate, they do. They fuck it up for everybody.
Take it too far.
Yep. Yeah, there's no need for that shit, in the country town that you talk about, sort of thing. Yeah. The generic country. There's no need for that shit.
Well, I think people were tolerating, and when I say people, I'm talking, society in general, tolerating bikies when the violence is contained within their world. It's when it spills out, that's where people get the shits, and from a police point of view too, that makes it non-negotiable. You got to step in.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, at the end of the day, mate, with the shit that we were into and that they are into now. Yeah. The shit that I'm not into anymore, there's only so many bikies you can feed the drugs to, you know what I mean? Yeah. Then, you've got that profit margin you've got to continue. So it spills out into society, and the fucking havoc it wreaks on society, that shit. Yeah. Is just fucking mind-bending, It really is. And when you're taking it and selling it, you don't see that side of it. Yeah. Well, I'm fucking taking it. If they want to take it, they can take it. You know what I mean?
So I see what you're saying. So when you're taking it, you lose the perspective on how much it's fucking people up and what it's doing and how many lives it's impacting upon.
it took me fucking my life up a couple of times, mate, to get on top of that shit, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
These days, I've seen the back of it, and I'm so glad, you know. And I see how much it's fucking destroyed my life,
And
and the drugs in it, you know, and the life we live.
The whole combination of things.
I'm playing catch up.
Yeah, yeah.
I really am. I'm playing catch up in life now.
When was the awakening that you started to think that this isn't the path?
I think the first recognition of it was 92.
Yeah.
And that culminated in, you know, a sort of major event in my life in 94.
Yeah.
And I just woke up. I woke up one morning. I thought, "Fuck, there's no way I'm dying in jail. No way." You know, and that's a big incentive, mate. Trust me, because to me, jail was an occupational hazard.
Yeah.
From the moment my father parted this earth to the day I realised that it wasn't me as a person.
Yeah.
You know?
And do you you miss the lifestyle?
Some aspects of it I do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to bullshit. That sound I was talking about 5 minutes ago, you know, it's pretty intoxicating, mate. You know, if you're a bike rider and you like building them and you like sort of all those aspects about those things, you know, in that life, there's things you will miss, yeah.
And that I suppose it's that sense of freedom that you've talked about to me before. That I don't live by anyone's rules.
Pretty much, and like, you know, it goes back to something you said before. You know, it was pretty much tolerated as long as violence was contained within the scene. Then the whole lifestyle was tolerated.
Yeah,
even from a police perspective, mate. You know,
yeah,
and it's just got to the point now once the drugs were introduced on a major scale and people were only interested in making money from it to further their own life. It just exploded, you know, and everybody just lost control of it.
Do you see with the drugs coming in, did that change the culture of the bikies?
It destroyed the culture of the bikers. It really did. Even the first club I rode with, you know, like what they were about as a club appealed to me. Some of the broken rules and, you know, the fallout of that didn't appeal to me. Definitely things I miss, you know.
Yeah,
definitely.
What would yeah?
But the price for them's too high, mate.
Yeah. Do you see anyone that can go in the gangs and come out undamaged or without regrets?
I think if you're into it, there's really only a couple of ways out, mate. You know, and I've seen blokes leave on good standing and live their lives. But to be able to do that, they have to accept a lot. You know, they have to accept the way people are, what they do. You know, they've got to reason it for themselves, I think. I've seen people leave the life and they're basically never seen again. And I can name a few of them, but I won't. And like I say, I've seen people leave or be thrown out in many different circumstances and just never considered again. You know,
because I would imagine it's a lifestyle that you go through. You've been going through your stages in life, and there's different stages in life. When you're a young bloke, no responsibilities, all cool. Yeah, you owe no one anything, and you can do what you want. But as you get older, things start to change the way you look at things. And I would imagine a lot of blokes in the gangs are in there because they want to have that sense of belonging, and that might be hard for them to leave. That part of the team.
Yeah, I've seen people like that come through too, mate. You know, they want that sense of belonging, and they enter it. I don't know, I can't think of the best way to put it, but they enter it as a good person, and they learn throughout their path in that outlaw scene. Not so much, maybe not how to be a bad person. A lot of people do learn how to be a bad person. A lot of people learn how to do the wrong thing. It's probably the best way of putting it. And they learn how to do the wrong thing just for survival, if you like, and the ability to stay where they are. You know, it costs a lot of money to ride around the country on Harleys, mate. Staying at motels and putting on parties and shit like that. It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the average working man with kids, you know, they work out pretty quick that they can't live like that.
When you were in the gangs, you weren't working. All your earns were from your outlaw activities?
I had a couple of jobs over the years.
Yeah.
You know, most of the jobs I had, I should say, have been through club members.
What, security, that type of stuff, or working on the bikes, or?
Oh, all sorts of different, brick cleaning, labouring, concreting. Like I say, there's many opportunities. I've had a few jobs, and I've managed to live free, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people would call it.
How'd your family accept when you got into the bikies?
They had no say, no control, nothing whatsoever. Like I say, I was out of home at 14 and a half, living at the clubhouse. So
at that stage, your loyalty to the bikies anyway. They were like family to you.
Yeah, and my everyday, my family was my family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everything that a family is to somebody. But being a bikie was my life, was my job, basically,
Yeah.
I guess. That was my employment.
Well, you got to be true to yourself. You're glad you're out of it now?
I am now.
No regrets? If you had your time over again, would you go down that path?
Which path?
Bikies.
The bikie path or the path out of it?
The bikie path to start with.
Path?
The bikie path. Go down that bikie path.
I think I would, Gary, but I think I'd do it completely differently, and I don't know whether I'd be in a club.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
The bikie club lifestyle, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think my attraction to bikes and building them and I guess the outlaw style of motorbike will always be there, always was there. It's just everything else around that lifestyle that I pretty much don't agree with after what I've learned.
So if you had it over again, you could dabble in it but not fully invest. Would that be the way of looking at it?
No, I wouldn't say that either. Motorbikes, definitely. The outlaw style of motorbike, definitely. I don't know. I may have gone into a bike building business and been on the peripheral of it.
Yeah.
One bikes to them, but not actually been a member. Because the people I've seen benefit the most from a club lifestyle have been the ones on the peripheral around the club.
Yeah.
They do their thing. They're not involved in the club. They're not subject to all the rules and queer cunt drug dealers trying to fucking steal your shit. Excuse my French.
Understood.
And that's all it is. It's just, the membership of a club these days is when my right hand falls out of your left hand pocket and there's no money in it. I can't even remember your name.
Yeah.
You're wearing the same patch as me. And when I grew up in the club scene, wearing that same patch meant that I backed you 100%. That if you fucked up and went to jail tomorrow, I'd make sure your family was okay. Things like that. I would make sure your bike wasn't stolen while just basic shit like that, mate. Being a mate.
Yeah.
It's not what it's about anymore. It's about how much money you can make for me.
Yeah, so it's changed.
Yeah.
How were you perceived when you're getting round in your colours and all that, and you're perceived by the public? Like, did people just turn away from you when you came into a store? Like you're a personable sort of bloke, but
I was 6'4" and fucking 22 and a half stone, I think, at some stages.
Yeah.
And wearing colours, and you didn't have much of a problem, mate. Oh, but I mean,
But did people just shy away from you, or did they talk to you, or did they shit themselves when they saw you?
Some do, some don't, mate.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But
I've got colours, don't fuck with me. I was never that type of person.
Yeah.
I do what I do, and as long as you don't want to get involved in it and you don't bother me, then you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
You live your life, you do your thing. That's how it is. But that's not how a lot of people are in that scene now. It's whatever they can get from whoever they can get it from.
How did you find your dealings with the cops?
My attitude towards police was catch me if you can. I did what I did, and if I fucked up and you caught me, then you caught me. Do you know what I mean? I hated cops. I fucking hated them. but that's ironic because we grew up around police officers and shit as kids too, with our family, and just what it was. What it was. The scene hated police. Therefore, I was part of the scene. If I did something and you caught me, good luck to you.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to sit there and tell you what happened or fucking tell you anything about it. You caught me, you charge me, I go to court. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And jail, if it happens, is an occupational hazard. That was my attitude.
But from the cops' point of view, it was across the board that if you're in a gang, you hate the cops.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't talk to cops, you don't deal with cops, fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And that's not the case with gangs these days.
No, well, a lot's changed. You're observing.
Well, I don't think a lot's changed, mate. I think a lot more has come to the surface.
Right.
That's what I think. I don't think a lot's changed. There's still people doing what they do and getting help to do it.
Yeah, and that's what you're talking about. Like it's Well, when we talk about bikie gangs and you're talking about businessmen and all that, and there's a lot of hangers on. I've seen that in my dealings with bikie gangs. There's a lot of people that turn up. There's the women that turn up, and then the businessman and the local businessman wants to hang out with the local president and gang, that type of shit.
Oh, the locals around that club. If you want to be left alone and I guess tolerated, your word, not mine, then the money you're making has got to spread. You've got to give to the donations. You've got to, basically spread it around your local community, and then they just seem to accept what you do.
Well,
from what I've seen, they know what goes on, but they just, as long as they're not doing it, it doesn't matter what they accept from it. I think
turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah, accepting the donations. They know what that person does in their area. And they turn a blind eye to it because that money's furthering other things.
It's interesting, isn't it? The dynamics of it.
It is. Like I say, I've seen a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life do a lot of different shit. And I think, well, fuck, what I'm doing ain't that bad, mate.
It's interesting. No, it's interesting you should say that because, you've done some shit, I know, and you touched on it at the start. There's things that you regret that you haven't done, but you do get exposed to a lot and see a lot of stuff. And I don't think much would surprise you.
Nothing would surprise me anymore. Actually, one of the members said that not long after I got out of jail last time, in comment to something. He said, nothing surprises me anymore. And it's the perfect quote. Nothing surprises me anymore, mate.
Yeah.
About who does what and who's involved or who's not. All right. It's all about the bigger picture, isn't it?
Well, it's a journey. I look at it as a journey, and I think, the thing that's impressed me about you is the fact that where you've been and where you've come and where you're at now. And not many people can do that. Not many people have got the intestinal fortitude to hang in there and do what you've done. So
I could have been killed many times.
You probably should have been killed many a times.
I probably wished I was killed many times.
Oh, occasionally. Not all the time. I do like you, mate. Look, let's pick this time. We'll have a short break. When we get back, I'd like to talk to you about your time in jail, because this is another side of life that the average person just does not see or understand. And I know that you've had some experiences in there, and I'm fascinated. I've been around this world, but I'm still fascinated how you feel as a 17-year-old kid. You might think you're a man, but you're a kid going into a men's prison. So let's have a 5-minute break, top up the drinks, and get back to it.
I think I was there 3 weeks and wondered whether I was about to die or not. But anyway, we'll talk about that when we come back.
Okay. Cheers, mate. Well, there you go. You've just been given an insight into the bikie world. What I like about our guest is how open he has been. He's not glorifying bikies or making excuses for his actions. He's just telling you how it is. I personally don't feel I'm in a position to judge someone on the way they choose to live their life. Life presents us all with sliding door moments. Sometimes you just go down the wrong path. Make sure you tune in to part 2 of Cunno's amazing story on I Catch Killers, when we're taken into the world of the prisoner. We'll find out how you survive in prison, even where there is a gang of fellow prisoners who are trying to kill you. Speak soon. I Catch Killers is published by True Crime Australia, produced by Claire Harvey from the Sunday Telegraph and Dylan Adams at Made in Katana. I'm now an investigative journalist at News Corp Australia, attached to the Sunday Telegraph. If you like the podcast, please subscribe to our newspapers.